Yeah, thank you
Hello.
for joining me again. And it's another Zoom monthly chat. And I have a little bit of things to announce because I want to kind of like change the format slightly. Um, last time when we did the Zoom, because like I got requests a little bit later from some of the participants that would want to not on camera. And I actually don't know how to only capture part of the screen. And some of you are on the top of the screen, some of you on the side, and things like that. And when you're talking, you're actually on camera. So what I have asked um, to do is from moving forward, maybe out of our 30 minutes, we will have the first 10-15 minutes on Q&A to answer questions that you have asked. And then if you want to interact and things like that, it will be the second half of that. And if you do not want to be on camera, let me know, so I either turn off the recording, pause the and so initially I was thinking, like, let me talk a little bit about signing the artwork. And since you probably know that I'm essentially a flower painter, so I prepared to talk about flower painting signing. But then, like, since I announced that I'm going to talk about signing, I actually get two separate questions from two artists, and both of them give me a landscape as an example. So I will talk a little bit about that, but first of all, I just want to let you know that the signing, the basic principle are the same. But then, of course, this is art, so art is subjective, meaning that with you like want to obey all the rules, you may also want to like break all the rules as well. This is art, right? So I'm going to tell you, what are some of the basic concepts of signing in Sumi-e, and then when it comes to the signing for the landscape versus the um, flower and bird painting, because the composition theory is a little bit different. So I'll touch base a little bit on that, but then I have to say that, you can actually write a book about composition and design in Sumi-e, just on flower and bird standalone, and just on landscape standalone. So I doubt if I can, cover all the theory. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the fundamentals, and then we'll probably move to the Q&A, where I may turn off the recording when you can, freely talk and, like, don't mind on screen. All right. So any questions or any comments before I begin? So I'm sure that, actually the majority of you have my book that is Chinese brush painting flowers. And in this book, although we are talking about how to paint flowers, I have convinced the publisher to include a chapter on composition and signing and seal. So let me see, this is page 24. So if you have the book, you will know that, I actually have a chapter on composition. And then in the composition, if you flip the pages to, the last 4 pages of the chapter, we have something about the signing, and they talk about seals. And then this is the part I intend to talk about today on before we talk about signing, you have to talk about the seal, because the seal has the yin and the yang, right? It's not just a seal. And we did have a Zoom chat to talk about the seal, so you know that a majority of it would be red. But even with that, there's something called the yin and the yang, right? So these are some of my sample seal that I commonly use, right? And these are all in the book, although, as I say, it becomes very small. But then what's the yin and yang? Okay, here, let me show you. Okay. Like you see here, the carving is such that the word is in red when it's printed, right? So meaning that when they carve it, they save the space that is the word, and then they carve around it. So the words are actually in red, right? But then, and this is called yang, meaning the muscular, positive. So yang means that the words are red, right? While there's another seal that the words are white. So these are the example of the word being white. You see the word are white, okay? And And the reason is because after they decided what to put on it, they actually used the carving knife to cut out the area where the words are. So these are the one that is called yin, meaning the words are white, the area surrounding it become the color of the seal, which is the red, all right? So what's the difference? The difference is even you have a lot of words in it, or your word has a lot of strokes, on the Yang seal, it's always less red and more white because the background are usually more prominent. So the background are more white. So if you have a Yang seal, the seal is actually more airy, just like this one, it's more airy, right? But then if you have a Yin seal, the words are white, the surrounding is the color of the seal, which is red, is actually more prominent and have more body, stronger, because it's the way it is. So those are the two different kind of seal. And you can see that sometimes you have the same character, although you know the carving is slightly different, but then you see this is the word Lok. And one is Yang, one is Yin, but then you can tell that, you know, like this one is so much heavier than this one, right? Because of the way it looks. This is Lok, this is Yang, this is Yin, right? So you see, because of that difference, so first of all, before you sign, you have to decide the size of the seal and also the yin or the yang, meaning that how red or how white the effect of the seal would look on your art. And that is important because you don't want to pick a very big seal and sign a very small piece of work, or you have a gigantic piece of work such as a full rice paper that you have not cut, mounted on a straw, and then you sign it really small that that it doesn't, what I call the anchoring effect. It doesn't stabilize the design. So you have to make that decision and look around your seal and find one that match the size of your artwork, all right? So after that, then we have to decide where to sign it, all right? And where to sign, and this is, you know, my kind of like my suggestions on the flower and bird painting. First of all, you know, in Sumi-e painting, we talk about what we call energy or qi. And energy and qi is kind of like the positive energy, the live energy of the subject. And for flowers and bird, a lot of times is the movement, and with the bird is flying, is the direction it's flying to, and with the bird is singing is, you know, what is talking to, what it is looking at. And I'm actually having a cherry blossom workshop coming up next Friday. So I already have my background, you know, pasted with all my artwork. And you can see, for example, this one, we have a robin, and the robin is looking this way. So the chi is actually from here going this way. It's not this way, it's actually going from here looking with the direction of the bird going this way, all right? While in here, you see that this bird is coming down, right? So, and I have another bird singing going up. So the chi is, you know, so they will meet because there's also a kind of like a communication relationship. But you can see that this bird is singing going up, saying something to this bird, and this bird is, you know, like looking down. So there are certain movement and certain chi that is coming on a flower and bird painting. And on a flower, for example, this Amarias. So we have a flower, a single bloom, just, you know, up. So you have this come up. So you have some energy going up. And then here, because of the flower pointing downward, one point, I mean, you have energy going this way and going this way, all right? So those are the direction of the chi. So what not to sign is, with this is the direction of the chi, you don't want to sign against this dotted line. You don't want to block the chi. You don't want to be kind of like, you know, like certain things are moving, especially like eye movement. The eye is moving with whatever subject you are having, and you don't want to like, you know, like there's nowhere to go because you block it. Unless you actually want to promote the movement so it would not go off the paper, but kind of bring it back into the subject. And this will be true if we have a very long painting. You want the eye movement to actually meander around the artwork. But that's a kind of like a more advanced talk, you know, like for very simple flower and bird painting. Usually the direction is not like you have, you know, like 4 feet of artwork. You have to can encourage eye movement to move around. So you want to not block the chi. So you, if there's an imaginary line, you don't want to have anything that along this line here. All right. So any questions? Okay. You can unmute yourself to ask questions. All right. So when we are talking about, you know, like not blocking the chi, another thing is you also want to encourage eye movement. And this is true for usually slightly larger painting, but then it also true for another pretty used composition that we do for flower painting. And I have discussed, I have also discussed it in the book. As I say, I actually intended to have more pages, but then is in these pages, page 28. So each of them, you know, we talk about, you know, this and this is a sample. This is the design. What do I mean by that? So basically, this is what I submitted to the publisher. All right. I want to make sure both cameras see this. Okay. So what we usually have for flower and bird painting are something more like a triangle, right? Because as you know, if you have just 2 points, that is a straight line, right? And if you have 4 corners, that become a rectangle or a square, right? But a lot of times, what we usually do, I mean, when you think about geometry, is actually a triangle, but not a triangle that have equal size. You want a triangle that does not have equal size, such as something like this, right? Like this, or even this. So you have 3 areas that is kind of interesting, right? And with it is a pot of flower. It will have, like some higher on the top, some to the left, some to the right. But then these 3 flowers would form 3 points of interest that create a triangle. All right, and then it can apply to a lot of different composition. For example, yeah. As I say, in the book is reduced to very, very small. For example, this one here, right? Also on page 28, this is the artwork that I talk about, and on the triangle, the artwork is here. This is the original that I submitted to the publisher. Right? You can see. And when I say the triangle of 3 is this, you have the flower and then this little bob. So these 2 are kind of like the holes, the focus of what is the thing of interest that you will see in the artwork. But in order to create some kind of eye movement, I added a fallen petal on here. So 1, 2, 3 would form a triangle. And one interesting thing about art is that you don't have to draw the line to say this is a triangle. Human eye, the viewer, when they see this piece of art, they will mentally, in the mind, the eyes will connect the dot to form the line, all right? So we will have that. Let's do this. Let me maybe stick it on the wall so I can point at it. See? Okay, I think everyone can see it. So 1, 2, 3, okay? And then, you know, like I'm not going to write on it, but then you can draw a line here, draw a line here, and draw a line here, and that would be a triangle. And even if there's no line, when you're in front of the artwork and you're looking at it, the eye will automatically form a triangle, right? So that is one of the composition theory of this, you know, like Sumi-e art. Okay, so we're still talking about signing, all right? So after I do this, where would I sign? First of all, you know, I'm actually one of the exceptions on Sumi-e because I personally do not like to do a lot of inscription. Not because of any particular reason. I mean, I'm fluent in the Chinese language and I'm confident in my calligraphy. So it's not like I am shy of doing that or because of the language ability. But the reason is I live in America and my experience is when I have an art show and if I sign a lot of inscription in my art, instead of making it helpful for the audience, a lot of the audience doesn't read Chinese and they will be very baffled as to what did I write on my artwork. And I would have to have a, you know, a little explanation right next to the artwork to explain, you know, exactly what I wrote and translated. Or if I don't do that, you know, like the most common questions from my audience would be, what did you write? Can you translate it for me? I mean, and things like that. And I spend a lot of time doing that. And I rather they ask me about, you know, some other subjects such as, you know, like inspiration for the artwork or technical skill and things like that, instead of, you know, like, what did you write on the artwork? So because, you know, like to avoid that, I myself, you know, it's a personal choice. I actually do not write a lot of inscription in my art, but that's only a personal choice. Another thing is I also do not like to sign my name really prominently, but I think it's also a personality. Some people really want to make sure that they know it's my work. You know? And, you know, as I say, it's a personality. I can't really say yes or no to this. It's just a personal choice. I usually like it to be pleasant, but not in your face. So in this particular artwork, I actually sign in the corner. And not only that, it's a small signature. And then I pick a seal that is a little bit bigger because I think that, you know, like it's kind of fun to have it, what I call the effect of anchoring the compositions. So I pick a big square seal, but then the seal is the Yang seal. So it's, although it's big, it's not very red. So the background color will shine through. I'm not saying that, you know, this is the perfect way to sign this artwork. I'm sure that other artists may have other suggestions or, you know, like preference, but this is how I sign it. I think it doesn't obstruct the composition. I obviously would not sign anywhere along those triangular line. And I would not sign here because even I have a background, this is kind of like the negative space of these compositions. I usually do not like to use up a lot of the negative space, especially those on the upper part. And I'm talking about flower and bird painting, okay? And then, so I sign here. Okay, so that's the second part. The third part of a brush painting on flower and bird is you can use the seal and the signature to actually create eye movement. Not only do you not block the chi, not only do you, you know, like not, you know, like not obstruct the design, but you actually can use the seal and the signature as part of your design to promote eye movement. Promise to talk about the landscape. So let's see. Do I have any question first? Because I'm going to actually stop the recording so I can talk about the landscape.
Joan, can you comment on whether to sign in Chinese or in English? Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. Okay. I myself is actually quite liberal on that. You know, if you have seen some of my later work, in the past, I've been signing my name Joan. But then in recent, let me just like this. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I have been signing my name like this in most of my artwork in the last 10, 15 years, right? But then recently, I've been signing it like this. I add the word Lok on the end. No particular reason, because I have been signing my Sumi-e work with a Chinese name and signing my watercolor work with my English name, Joan Lok. But then I am continuously doing the fusion of the work. And then there are times that my watercolor look very much like a Sumi-e, and my Sumi-e look very much like a watercolor, like the rice paper crinkling one, or like that has a lot of Western subject and Western feel. And then I found like signing it, unifying it with a Chinese / English name is kind of cute. So I'm doing that recently. And I know that there are artists that use the seal, but then sign their English name. And then there are artists that very artistically spell the name vertically. So for example, Mary with M-A-R-Y, and then sign it in a very stylistic way that look almost like Chinese calligraphy. I myself is not against that. I think that, you are the artist, and your name and seal is actually representation of how you want to recognize this is your work. Because signing has two things. First of all, it lets people know that you are the creator of this. You are the one that signed it. All right. So that's one. But then another thing is you also sign because you are responsible for that artwork. That means that when you sign, you admit that I did it and I'm responsible for its flaw. Okay. In a way, it's true, right? I mean, because you take credit for it, you also take, like kind of like with before, you should also be responsible. I signed it. I mean, like if it's so bad, I'm the one that the reason why it's so bad because I made it. So I think that, as the creator, you should have the liberty to sign in the way that you think best represents you. If you think it's English, it could be English. However, what I have seen is we have a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the Asian language, and they dislike the way the English word looks. So they try very hard to mimic their name in, the Asian language. And it really depends on, how much practice they have, the model of the design that they are copying from. Because a lot of times they may be copying from, like not very good model. So the word itself is in, like without a better word, very bad calligraphy. So if you have that, you may want to rethink, like, because as I say, your signature is part of your entire composition. I mean, although when you paint it, it's still just, just a single flower. But when you sign and seal it, it become part of it. And since this is red, besides looking at, the design, your attention would be also drawn to this. And therefore, you want to make sure that what you put here is something that is worthwhile for people to stay. And with you cannot sign your name in a stylistic way, you may want to rethink whether you want to do it like that or make a very good effort to better it. It's just like nowadays, even very little kids type instead of handwriting penmanship. So when you ask them to sign their credit card or sign anything that needs their signature, you'll be surprised that they look really bad. And I still remember one time I got, my neighbor sent me a note. I actually thought his kid wrote it because he has a 5-year-old son. I thought his kid wrote it, but when I read the content, it was actually written by my neighbor. He's like 30-something years old. But then that's his handwriting. And unfortunately, because, we type and, penmanship become very poor. So when you sign your artwork, if you have, equivalent of very poor penmanship, that may not be something you want to do. Okay. So
one last thing, hopefully quickly. If you have bad calligraphy or you're not confident, can you just use your signature seal and let it go?
I have seen people doing that. I have seen people doing that. And as a matter of fact, it's not that hard to find a good model of your signature, because I'm not asking you to actually practice penmanship. I'm asking you to practice how to sign your name. So unless you have a extremely long name, it's just the first and last name, or just the first or just the last name. So even if you have a long last name, it's like at most, 15, 20 characters. And you can shorten it because it's your signature. You're only talking about one symbol that you are learning. So Chinese, when it's translating Western names, usually is translated phonetically. So if you are called Mary, it's usually 2 or 3 words. If you are Elizabeth, it will be Elizabeth. So it will be 4 characters. If you are Amy, it's Amy. So it's not that many words. At most 6 characters. So I would probably say that, if you really want to sign a good one, talk to someone or find someone who is a good calligrapher and just write those 6 words for you, or pay someone to stylize your name into those 4 or 5 words. And basically you are just practicing, like with this is my name, you're just practicing these 2 characters over and over again. I'm not asking you to learn, 5,000 Chinese characters. You are learning 4 or 5, sometimes 2. It can be done. Okay. Now, I'm going to, close the recording, because I'm going to share the artwork of 2 of our classmates. So, okay. Oh, by the way, so thank you everybody, and we will probably continue this format moving forward. So you will only see my face, unless if you talk and you're on screen. Otherwise, we will continue like that. So there's no misunderstanding. So I'm going to pause my